Antonio Pierce that they're playing for the 1 seed.
Talked about that
When I saw him in the elevator.
Try to say you're playing with the 1 seed.
You're making a big draft. It's a draft.
Well, Raider Nation, if looks could kill, you could see the look on John Gruden's face when he found out that apparently the Raiders are 100% tanking. That's what it sounds like. Now, this is the owner of Barstool Sports basically telling on Antonio Pierce that they are intentionally losing games to get the #1 overall draft pick. Now, listen, guys, we reported this a couple months ago, way before anybody else, right here on the Raider D podcast. If you love breaking news and information, we got you covered here on the Raider D podcast that Mark Davis wants the #1 overall draft pick. He wants Shedeur Sanders. He even would like to see Deion Sanders here. But we all know that that's very unlikely that would happen. Guys, did you know that you can get all of your Raiders gear like this really cool one-of-a-kind hat right here just by going to Fanatics, who we have hooked up with, and you can do all of your shopping right here on YouTube just by hitting that shopping cart down below. And if you don't see the shopping cart, just go into the description and all of the pre-selected items that I have personally curated just for you should pop up. We've all seen the videos of Shedeur Sanders in thanking God every time the Raiders lose and we move up the board. He was just recently in Vegas with his boy Travis Hunter to receive an award. And of course, they got to stop by the stadium, and they're posting that on their Instagram, and they want to come to the Raiders. Now, listen, we're going to get into Shedeur Sanders and whether or not the Raiders should take him, or maybe even should take Travis Hunter with the #1 overall draft pick, because as it stands right now, the Raiders are the worst team in the NFL, and we have the #1 overall draft pick. What are we going to do with it is going to be a very big question. And there is an article out that I'm going to show you guys here in just a minute that may want to give us pause about drafting Shedeur Sanders. But first, let's get into this issue, which is a controversy that is blown up right now, that the Raiders are intentionally tanking. And the evidence is pretty overwhelming at this point. Now, listen, we don't know if the owner of Barstool Sports News is telling the truth here or not, that he was with Antonio Pierce in an elevator and, Antonio said, we're playing for the first seat or the first seed in the draft, the #1 overall draft pick. We don't know the validity of that. So let's just make that very clear. We don't want to start a rumor, spread a rumor based off of this one person's information, because right now it is hearsay, right? It's not admissible in a court. Therefore, it's not going to be admissible here on the Raider D podcast. But it is just one more small piece of evidence that has me wondering, is Antonio Pierce really tanking this season? Well, I mean, if you just go back to the Chiefs game, we had that game won. All the Raiders had to do, all they had to do was kick the field goal. We win that game. But instead, Antonio Pierce sends Aiden O'Connell back out there to do what? Waste 4 seconds off of the clock? Is that going to be enough for the Chiefs? With 4 seconds left on the clock, maybe 5 seconds left on the clock after we kick the game-winning field goal. The statistics of the Chiefs winning that game, if we kick that field goal, are like 2% chance of winning, right? And so we know by his, calling timeouts and wasting timeouts in the first half of games, and so that we don't have any timeouts when we're in a 2-minute drill. He did the same thing again in the Chiefs game in the fourth quarter. He's done it in other games, and then just making really stupid decisions. And I got to be honest with you, I really don't think Antonio Pierce is a stupid man. I think that he is making these calls intentionally, because if you look at his press conferences, when he's pressed on these types of issues about his play calling or lack thereof, or his game management skills, he always smiling. He's always got a little chuckle, a little smirk on his face. And so it makes me believe that there is a very real possibility, and again, this is just another piece of evidence that goes to show maybe we really are tanking the season. And I think if that's the case, if he's doing this intentionally, it's because he has the guarantee from Mark Davis. His job is secure. He's not going anywhere. He will be the head coach next year. He will have his franchise quarterback. We will have even more depth and talent added to this team. And then he will make his run with that to prove that he deserves to be here, because I think at this point, he simply does not believe in the quarterbacks that this team has on the roster. And he has convinced Mark Davis that if he gets that first overall draft pick and he gets Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward, that he can make victory after victory after victory with the Las Vegas Raiders. That's how I'm seeing it right now. Drop a comment down below and let me know how you're seeing it. Now, let's get into this article as well that I wanted to show you guys today, because this is very interesting. Travis Hunter goes on record saying the Raiders should definitely take me, but I've got a strong feeling they're going to take a quarterback, so I'm not going to be mad as long as it's me or Shedeur. I'm good with it. So here's my thoughts on this. The Raiders should trade back if we have the number 1 overall draft pick, because that's a very valuable pick. We trade back to the number 3 slot, and then we use the capital to trade back into the first round in the top 10 if possible. We grab our quarterback at pick number 3, who we trade with. We make sure that they are not going to take a quarterback, preferably somebody that's going to take Abdul Carter, because he is a generational defensive end, but that's not a position of need for the Raiders. So we would trade with them, trade back to the 3 or 4 spot if possible, and then we still end up with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, trade back into the first round at pick number 6 or 7, and we get to Terioa McMillan or Travis Hunter, whichever one is available there. And now you have your ex-wide receiver. You have Jacoby Myers. You have Sincere McCormick as your running back number 1, which he is looking like he is becoming. And then you have Alexander Madison as your running back number 2. You have Jacoby Myers. You have Trey Tucker. You have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. In the 3rd round, you go out and you get a couple of guards to further stack that offensive line and make them better. You need a replacement for Jordan Meredith and Dylan Parham. We already know Jackson Powers Johnson is an absolute beast. Colton Miller is getting back to playing like he's supposed to. And DJ Glaze has really been showing out as a rookie that he could possibly be our full-time right tackle. We just need a couple of guards. Offense is now rolling. Who knows who the coach is going to be, but whoever it is, if you could not be successful with that roster, you don't deserve to be a head coach in the NFL, whether your name is Deion Sanders or Antonio Pierce or Ben Johnson. That would be an offense that you can win games with. What do you guys think? Drop comments down below. If you want to see me almost die out in the wild, go ahead and click on this video right here, which will take you to my other channel, Black Rain Official, where I take survival challenges and almost die.